Show Beach Club. Clean out their water, put fresh water in.
All right, a quick update. So I was working to finish the boardwalk to go over to the pool deck. So I got the frame built and I just got to get some wood. But in the meantime, this was pretty much expected. The grass is growing through the boardwalk. It does tickle your feet when you walk by. Jody kind of likes that, but doesn't look very nice. So when I laid down the boardwalk, I should have put weed fabric or cardboard under it or anything so that the grass didn't grow up through the cracks like what it's doing. So down here I've already started fixing the problem. So luckily I built these in 8-foot sections. So there's where two 8-foot sections come together. I just put some screws in to hold it down. But the reason why I took up the boards was I actually picked up 2 sections at a time with Jody, and we kind of moved them out of the way, and I'll show you a little bit later how we did that. So we picked up the boardwalk, moved it into the grass, and then we laid down the weed fabric underneath. We burned holes. You know, you can't cut this woven weed fabric because it'll just shred. So we have a little torch. We burned the cuts and pieces and around each of the legs. But you can see here when I burned the hole, there's a little bit of grass. So what we're gonna do is spray some Kills-All, or ground clear, I guess is what it's called, ground clear, in each hole. And then we're gonna fill it with stones so nothing will grow there. And what I'm doing was to come out far enough away from the boardwalk, put these stones down so that way I could weed whack on the stones, because when I was weed whacking with the wood here, obviously you know what happens is the wood gets marked up really bad and all the stain and everything comes off. So by having the brick there, I could weed whack right up to the brick. And everywhere I have the posts holding up the boardwalk, I have a bump out, and what we're gonna do is plant some grasses, some tall grass there that you would kind of find at a boardwalk on the ocean or whatnot, so it'll look pretty cool. So I have bump outs everywhere that are those legs. So that's kind of what we're doing. Originally, I was trying to cut the fabric and feed it under the boardwalk without pulling up the boardwalk, and that was aggravating. There was no way that was going to happen and get full coverage, because I don't want any grass growing under this anymore. Yeah, so by picking up the boardwalk and moving it, I was able to just lay it down. I tacked it really well. We're going to order some really nice, they're these little white stones. I don't know how to describe it. They're like pebble, different sizes. And it actually, with the whiteness, it kind of looked like sand, kind of. So we're trying to stick to a nice theme of like the ocean, boardwalk, and whatnot. So that's where we're at. So our next step here is to, so I have this already unscrewed. So I have to come down here, pull up some boards here, because this goes down to our lean-to where we've been videotaping a lot of our food videos. And you can see I didn't finish, but I put the supports for the rest of the boardwalk to connect to the lean-to. So when we're over here, you could just walk down and around. So I have to unscrew this, and then I figured I'd... All right, so along the lines of working on the boardwalk, I need another project because it hasn't rained much in like the last 3-4 weeks, probably even longer than that. And so it's been really dry. So we haven't really had the need to have gutters. So I want to put a gutter on here for 2 reasons. One is that all the rain pours down right here, and then it floods out this block and the second block there. And those are the only 2 blocks that get any rain or any puddling, right? So I don't want the water to keep hitting the concrete, because over time the concrete being wet and dry will start disintegrating, and we don't want that just because of obvious reasons, right? Yeah, we have to put the corner bead on still, so I have those sitting over there. I'll get to that one too. But this rain thing is more important because starting tomorrow we're supposed to have thunderstorms for 3 days, so I want to get this gutter system up quickly. So you know, for two purposes. One, to keep the rain from falling off and flooding these 2 bricks because it's sloped towards this place. And look, there's a rabbit. And also, we did have that giant pile of dirt right here, which, as you can see, has been removed, and it's all dirt. It hasn't rained, so eventually, I'm not sure what we'll do. But anyway, back to the topic. So it'll protect the blocks. And the second reason I want to put up the gutter sooner than later is we have this. I painted it silver to reflect the sunlight, so that way we don't get any type of mildew or mold or moss or whatever growing inside it. Plus, with the silver, it'll reflect the sunlight. So I want to get the water coming off the roof here into that, so we have this water, because we are eventually going to have shrubs and landscaping and everything everywhere, and we don't want to have to plumb the water out here. So we'll have that to water all of our items. So as you can see, I have the drain pipe. I have 8 pieces. I have 4 pieces that are 8 feet long. The length of the cookhouse is 24, but we have a 1.5 to 2 foot overhang. So I will have to cut a piece of this shorter than what we have. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. All right, so step 1, I did buy the pieces, the thin, I guess there's like 3-inch pieces that you're supposed to have a joint that you could put it in and kind of click them together, but that makes the seam not very strong. And you know, where we are, we get a lot of snow and ice. So I saw online another way of doing this, where I'm going to take my tin snips and cut this back about 4 inches right here, and then slide the one into the other. And I have some seam seal and I have some rivets, so that should make a really strong joint. So that's what I'm going to do. Head and cut this back about 4 inches. Area is just to go like this. Oh, that'll be perfect. And then I'll put some rivets in here. Oh yeah, there it goes. I'll put a nice healthy bead. Oh yeah, look at that. That's awesome. And then I'm gonna drill some holes along the top. Take your time. Seam sealer is sealed up in here really well. I put a lot of beads, so that should work out pretty well. All right, I got 2 more pieces to do. Then we'll put the end caps on. It's gonna make a mess, I know it. Should have just put it on first. I'm sure I'm doing this completely wrong. Now to seal the inside really well. All right, so we're on the corner of the pavilion. We have the shades pulled just because we've been having rain, so that way it doesn't get on the deck there. And we added another 8-foot piece of the boardwalk so that we can just, you know, walk up over here easier instead of walking on stones, walking through the dirt and stuff. So at least this way. Then we were going to put all kinds of shrubs and make the walkway to the boardwalk much nicer. So I just have to get some boards. You can see I put down the weed block. Over here there's already a weed block with the chips, so I didn't have to put weed block there. I have the stone there just so I could weed whack against something more permanent that's not wood, because the legs of the boardwalk, when I weed whacked, obviously I was messing them up pretty bad. So at least with the bricks here, I could hit that with the weed whacker. You know, I'll backfill this with the pebble stones that we're going to get. Originally, I tried to just push the fabric under the boardwalk, but then I had to cut and slice it to fit around the legs of the boardwalk, and that was just going to be a mess. So it was easier for me to undo 2 of the sections at a time, because I built them in 8-foot sections, so it was easy to pull them apart. So that's what I did, and I flipped them on their sides. So I'll show you what I'm doing down here. So you can see, actually I took 3 pieces there apart, and I just flipped them over, and that's kind of what it looks like underneath. I'm trenching down so I could put the stone same way with the weed block all the way down to the pole. And I trenched a little bit so that the bricks would go down at an angle a little. That way when we put the stone behind it, you know, the bricks, they won't get moved around because they'll be in that small trench that I dug. So I started digging this trench all the way down. I still have halfways to go. I'm going to cut the grass before I put everything back. You can see how tall it was getting. What a mess. And then down here was the last piece of 8-foot section I put on. I actually cut the grass real thin before I put it on, but as you can see, it still grew underneath and it was popping up through the slats in the boardwalk. So I'm going to be able to put down the weed block all the way down. No more grass growing. We're going to put weed block everywhere. So that's the quick update. I got to go and finish trenching this line out all the way down. Once I trench that out, I could actually put the weed block down. Cut the holes in the weed block and then set the boardwalks back in. Fun times. Should have did that in the first place. If I would have done it from day one, I wouldn't have had to pull up the boardwalk and go through this trouble. So I was rushing, and this is what I get. Lesson learned. All right, back to work.